name's AJ. I'm 20 years old, and I like to smoke that ganja. I remember always hearing that it was so bad, and like it made you stupid and all this stuff. And then once I did it, I saw it wasn't like as horrible as like I'd grown up to hear it was. And so I was like, well, you know, like why is it that they're lying? Like why? I felt like I was like lied to. So I was like, well, why is it that they're lying about? Like why do they not want us to smoke? Like why is it such a big deal? I don't see it. I think people are just, they like what's already set. They don't like new things, you know, like change is scary. And so people, they've heard their whole lives that marijuana is this horrible drug and it does all these horrible things to you. They're like, it's a gateway drug, and if you smoke marijuana, the next thing you know, you're going to be doing meth. And it's just like, hey, that's not always true. There's just, you know, some people, I mean, before they even smoke weed isn't enough for them. You know, they smoke and they're like, well, I want something better, like that high is not enough. So, I mean, I think that was one of their biggest things is like, hey, that's what I hear a lot as well. It's a gateway drug. It starts off with marijuana, I mean, and then it goes on more and more and more. But that's a personal decision because I know I don't do nothing else. It's just Mary J. That's about it. Because everything else, like, you can OD on, you can die from doing that. There's never been anybody, our parents and our grandparents die from smoking tobacco, and yet, you know, once you turn 18, you can go get yourself a pack of cigarettes as many times as you want, and you can kill yourself off that. But you're telling me that if I smoke something that's not going to kill me, that gets rid of cancer, they use it as like a medical treatment. I mean, they spend whole, you know, 2-3 minutes of commercials talking about side effects after they tell you, you know, what's good. Like, hey, this is for asthma. This is an asthma inhaler. But, you know, it's going to cause shortness of breath. Like, well, I already have shortness of breath. Why the fuck would I want it again? Like, that's basically what asthma is shortness of breath. So if I got that and I take this for that and I get it still, how is that actually helping me at all? It just seems like it's a money-making business now. Because it makes so much money that it's just like, hey, I don't really care what it does to the person in the long run as long as it heals the short term. I think that's the problem right now.
Yes, my name is Dan Trujillo, Trujillo, and I'm the Public Information Officer or the spokesman for the Las Cruces Police Department. If we are made aware or discover somebody has illegal narcotics, whether it be marijuana or whatever else, and of course we have to investigate it, and when we do find that somebody is in possession or control or distributing or whatever the case may be, then we'll file charges. We'll complete a criminal complaint and summary statement of facts and present that to magistrate court. The person will be usually incarcerated or given a criminal summons, which in effect is an arrest. Criminal summons, again, depending on the severity of the crime, criminal summons will require them to show up at a court hearing. If they're arrested, then they go to the Doñana County Detention Center, and then they will be given a court date. From my experience, from reading reports, to me it seems like most of the charges that we have end up as a result of some other criminal activity that occurred. And then when we're doing a search incident to arrest, in other words, after an arrest has been made and we're doing a search of the person or a vehicle, then we find marijuana or paraphernalia.
My name is Marisa Salazar. I'm 20 years old, and I run the Students for Sensible Drug Policy chapter here at NMSU. A big part of it started when we, realized that the amnesty policy on campus was not up to date and doesn't actually help students that are in a medical emergency. You have a lot of millennials right now realize that the drug war is failing, especially the war against marijuana. People are smoking marijuana anyways. We shouldn't have to worry about students being arrested and going to prison for smoking. It's one of those things where we're not actually stopping students by making it illegal, and we need to promote policies that focus on harm reduction and treatment, not incarceration. On campus, we want to update the amnesty policy to implement a good 911 Good Samaritan policy. What that would mean is that if you have a student who is doing drugs or maybe underage drinking on campus, and they experience a drug overdose or alcohol poisoning, we want that student to feel safe enough to call for medical assistance, to call 911, to be able to get help for a student who is in a medical emergency. The current policy here at MSU doesn't protect them. The current policy only gives you amnesty if you rat yourself out for being a drug user or rat out a friend for being a drug user before a medical emergency occurs, and then they make you go through a rehab program and you have to promise that you're never going to do drugs again. But that's not effective. That's not going to help students who actually do need help. Currently, if you call for help in a medical emergency, first off, campus PD doesn't come. It's the actual Las Cruces PD that comes. And Las Cruces PD answers the call before any kind of medical assistance ambulance shows up to help. So all that does is it turns it into a criminal situation instead of a medical emergency. And for every minute that a student spends trying to contemplate the risks of calling for help, such as losing their scholarship, getting kicked out of on-campus housing, getting arrested, that's another minute that a student in need is not receiving medical attention, and that's something that we need to change.